Hey guys, this is Stephanie and I am Stacks on Stacks on Stacks. Today I'm going to come to you guys with a topic that I've seen rolling around BookTube a little bit, rereads. Now I feel like we get a lot of slack on BookTube for doing rereads because you're supposed to be catching up on all the newest books and there's so many books coming out. How can you possibly read those all? And then you're going to reread something? And I feel like this is really honestly just a pressure that I put on myself, and I'm sure a bunch of you guys do the same thing too. But honestly, I like to reread books. If it's a good book, I want to read it again. So I feel like, though it's kind of one of those things of, well, you can't count that towards your TBR, I should be able to count that towards my TBR because I want to reread that book, so I should be able to reread that book. So today I have two categories of books I want to reread, and I'm going to go through this pretty quickly. The first category are books I want to reread because I don't remember what happened and I want to read them again. First one I want to reread is Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte. Now this is a book that I read in probably 8th grade, maybe freshman in high school, and that was a very long time ago. So I don't remember much of it, and somebody was asking me a question or making a comment about it the other day, and I was like, I don't remember. So I felt kind of silly because here I am, you know, supposedly I've read all these books and I have read this book, I just don't remember like anything. And she was talking about it and I was like, holy stars, I don't remember any of this book. So I decided this is one I want to definitely reread this year. I also want to reread the Sherlock Holmes books by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. Now these, if you watched any of my videos last week, you probably just saw these and you're like, I remember that ratty old book. I got these a long time ago. I read them a long time ago, and I've reread, I think I reread one or two of them, but I haven't reread the whole series. And I want to reread the whole series, and not just because I feel like I might actually do a party to these because that event tag just was so cool. But they're just wonderful and incredible books. And so I was like, you know what? I want to reread these. So I think this is one that I'll definitely be rereading as well. My next category of books are books that I need to reread if I want to continue on in that book series. So most of these are book series that I started and didn't finish, or book series that I started and then it just takes a while for the books to come out. So I kind of forgot what happened. The first one I'm going to talk about is the Heather Wells series, which has Size 12 Is Not Fat, all by Meg Cabot. Now there's 5 books in this series. I think I've read the first 3 and it's been a while. Basically the main character, Heather, she was like a pop star singer gal who made it pretty big, and then her mom, who was her manager, took all her money and took off. So she left her without anything, and then her pop star boyfriend broke up with her and her career kind of landed in the toilet. So now she wants to go to college, but she can't afford it. She becomes an assistant dorm director at a college in New York so that she can afford to go to college. And she's actually living with her ex-boyfriend's brother, who she doesn't really see much of. She like rents a room from him. And then a dead body shows up in the dorm and she has to help solve this murder. And each book she's kind of solving a crime and stuff like that. And it's kind of about how she picks herself up and dusts herself off and learns to just start all over and not take things for granted. It's a really fun series. Like I said, I've only made it 3 books in. I couldn't tell you why I stopped reading it because I totally enjoyed it. So I want to reread this series again this year. Next on my list to reread is Three Dark Crowns by Kendra Blake. Now this one, I actually only read it a few months ago, but I'm not gonna lie, I was super bored the first 75% of the book. I read it and I was just like, okay, just keep going, keep going. I actually got an audiobook because I was going on a trip and I thought this will be way better to listen to. I was bored by audiobook, which I'm not usually bored on an audiobook, but boy howdy, I was bored by this audiobook. But I kept getting told the payoff, it'll pay off, it'll pay off, it'll pay off. So I stuck with it and it did pay off for the most part. But there's a lot about that 75% that I don't remember. And then the sequel to it, and I think it's a duology, I hope it's a duology, is coming out in September. But because it left you at such a cliffhanger, I think that it's not going to be a slow start this next time. So I definitely want to read this next book, but I definitely need to reread this book first, or I think I'm going to be a little bit lost. Basically, this is a book about 3 sisters who are raised on this island, and one of the 3 of the sisters is going to be queen, whichever one kills the other 2. So they've all been raised in this mindset, and they all have a speciality. Her specialty is controlling nature and the elements, and the next one can control poisons, and she can be poisoned and it doesn't affect her. And then the last one, she can kind of commune with animals and make them do her will. So it is an interesting book. It's an interesting concept. It's just impressively slow at the beginning. My next book to reread this year is Truth Witch by Susan Dennard. Now, I actually read this when it first came out, which was like maybe last January, I'm thinking. I liked the friendship aspect between our two lead characters, and there was some romance, and it was like a slow burning one. It was okay. I think there'll probably be more romance in the next book, so I kind of hesitate. But I really liked the relationship between the two girls, and I want to read more about that. Now, I don't know what I was doing when I read this book, but I was not paying attention because there were things that were happening towards the end of the book, and I'm like, who's that? Why is that happening? I have no idea what's going on. So I'm pretty sure I need to reread this book before I read Wind Witch, but I'm honestly probably going to wait until the next book is about to come out, and then I'll just read them back to back because, yes, that is the most efficient way to do this. The next book I'm going to be rereading is Percy Jackson and the Titan's Curse, which is the third Percy Jackson book. Now, I read the first two and I liked them. I wasn't as gaga over them as everybody else. And I think some of that might be my age. A lot of people have read this when they were like, you know, like 6th, 7th, 8th grade. And I read it when I was like 33. So it didn't mean the same to me, but I was like, I see the appeal, but I'm not quite there. But I have a feeling that the books do get better as they go on. The second book I wasn't very crazy about, and so I started the third one and then I just didn't finish it. But I've been told by many people that the third book's good, the fourth book's better, the fifth book's better. So this is a series I want to continue, and I need to reread/finish this one if that is going to happen. The next book I would like to reread is The Young Elites by Mary Lou. Now, this is one that I read when it first came out. Like, it was just released. I saw it in Barnes & Noble, so I just bought it. And I was like, this sounds like a great book. It has superheroes in it. I love superheroes. And then it got some like rave reviews. It's amazing. And then it came crashing down to earth. So I'm not really sure what kind of expectations I should have for the rest of the series. I own the entire series, so I feel like I should read the entire series, but I'm a little foggy on what happened in here because it's been a good 2 years or more since I read it last. So it is one that I am going to put on my reread list for this year, and hopefully I'll get around to it. And the last and probably most important book for me to reread this year would be The Final Empire by Brandon Sanderson. Now, I read this stars 5 or 6 years ago. Like, I don't know if Hero of Ages was out when I read this. Like, it's been a while. It was the first Sanderson book that I read. I love Brandon Sanderson. He is an incredible author, incredible writer. I love his magic systems. Like, they're so intricate and beautiful. I love the worlds he writes. And then he writes these amazing characters. He puts them in that world, and yeah, you get a book like this. And I loved this book. And why did I not continue on in the series? I couldn't tell you, but I didn't. So I need to reread this. I actually told my husband, I think I spent like months telling him what an amazing book it is. Amazing book. You need to read this book. You need to read this book. Fast forward like 4 years, and he read this last summer, and he loved it so much he read the second one and the third one, and then he went on to the next trilogy, and he read the first one in that, and I think he's on the second one in that. And I haven't read the second book in the series, so I feel a little bad because I got him hooked on Sanderson, and he's read way more Sanderson than I have now. He's done The Way of Kings, and he wants me to read those. I told him he's gonna have to wait until like the 5th or 6th one comes out because those are like that thick. So I'm gonna put those off because there's supposed to be 10 in that series, so we will see. But this is one that I definitely want to reread. Our main character, Vin, is kind of a street rat, and then she finds out, we're just gonna say she has magical powers. We're just gonna go with that, and I'm gonna be vague because I don't want to give things away, because I really enjoyed this book, and I think part of what I enjoyed was the surprise and not knowing things. One of my favorite books of all time. Why haven't I read this series? What is wrong with me? A lot, actually. One of the things is I haven't read this series. So those are the books that I would like to be rereading this year. I'm not going to probably put them in my TBR. I'm probably just going to slip them in as I have time to read them, but I will put them in my wrap-ups as well as I read them along. And it's a lot of books because I have quite a few series in here as well, so I'm hoping that I have time to read these. Now, why don't you guys comment below which one of these books you think I should reread first. Whichever book gets the most votes, that's the one I'm going to be rereading first. Don't know if I'll get it reread in May or June. My June's a little crazy, but I will get it reread soon-ish. And as always, please like if you liked and click subscribe if you'd like to see more videos from you. You can also comment below with the top book that you would like to reread this year because I would love to hear about that too. I will see you guys very, very soon. Goodbye.